Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alrighty, so today I'm going to be smoking a cigarette from the UK for the first time. In specific today, I'm going to be smoking and reviewing the Lambert & Butler Original Silver Cigarettes, which appear to be a mid-range, full-flavored pack of cigarettes from what I can tell at least, although I might very well be wrong because I've never been to the UK, so I'm not really super up on how cigarettes are designated strength-wise in the UK, and I'm also not super up on what the price of these cigarettes is actually like when compared to others on the UK market as well. Although, if I had to guess, based off of what I do know about cigarette prices in the UK, these were probably a bit more expensive than not, but I don't know anything for sure. As a whole, I am very excited to try a UK cigarette for the first time in today's video, and I'm also very excited to try one of the Lambert & Butler Original Silver Cigarettes for the first time in today's video as well. This variety of cigarettes has been highly requested for me to try for the last couple years now, and so as such, I certainly am very excited to give these a go for the first time, to let y'all know how they actually are, and to find out how they are for myself, and to just in general find out how a UK market cigarette is for the first time myself as well. To say the least, I am excited for today's video. And I'm also very thankful to one of y'all for having been kind enough to contribute this pack of cigarettes right here to the channel for me to make a full review on. Thank you so much to Liz M for being nice enough to contribute this pack of cigarettes right here to the channel for me to make some content on, for me to make a review on, and everything like that. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much once again to Liz M for having been kind enough to give me this pack of cigarettes right here. Huge shout out. I really, really, really do appreciate it, and I certainly am very excited to give these a go today. But what is Lambert & Butler as a brand? Well, from what I can tell, at least, Lambert & Butler is a historic British tobacco brand as a whole, having been first started in 1834, almost 200 years ago now. Well, yeah, actually coming up on like 190 years, I want to say, next year, which is pretty wild in all honesty. But Lambert & Butler, as said, is a historic British tobacco brand that was first started in 1834. And at that time, Lambert & Butler was not only a cigarette brand, but they were also a just tobacco brand as a whole. And they weren't just a brand, they were actually a production company as well, a tobacco production company. And throughout the 1800s, Lambert & Butler, both as a brand and a company, started to rise in popularity just a little bit more so than not. And by the end of the 1800s, supposedly Lambert & Butler was one of the dominant players in the tobacco market in England at that time, which is pretty wild if I do say so myself. However, starting in 1901, Lambert & Butler, both as a brand and a company, merged with a couple other British tobacco companies to create Imperial Tobacco, which is still the company that owns Lambert & Butler today. And from that point onward, under the new management of Imperial Tobacco, Lambert & Butler did not do as well as it had previously, frankly put. And as the brand went into the 1940s, 1950s, the popularity of the brand started to wane to a pretty extreme degree. They were closing factories for both the company and the brand, and it looked like Lambert & Butler might be discontinued. But in 1979, modern Lambert & Butlers, as we know them today, were first introduced in the form of a king-size filtered cigarette. And that's the Lambert & Butler that we know today. And supposedly, at that time, in 1979, Lambert & Butler as a brand, once again, absolutely exploded in popularity and became just as popular, if not more popular, than they had been in the past. And supposedly, in the time since 1979, there have been a couple years where Lambert & Butler has been the best-selling brand on the UK market. It's pretty wild to say the least. This brand was almost discontinued. They were shutting down factories, almost discontinued this brand, and then they try something new, and it works to an extreme degree. Pretty cool stuff, if I do say so myself. Today, Lambert & Butler is still owned by Imperial Tobacco, of course. And today, from what I can tell, in the UK market, in the UK in general, Lambert & Butler is a little bit more popular than not, and is most definitely in the top 5 selling cigarette brands, from what I can tell at least. And today, Lambert & Butler is not just sold in the UK, but it's also sold in some other countries throughout Europe as well. But you know, that's what Lambert & Butler is as a brand, more so than not. But what are my expectations for this pack of cigarettes right here? Well, taste-wise, honestly, I really don't know what to expect. This is going to be my first ever time trying a UK market cigarette, so I honestly do not know what to expect, frankly put, taste-wise, but I do have some guesses. I have heard that many cigarettes in the UK are more of a Virginia blend than not, and so I'm kind of thinking that I might get a little bit of a sweet and sour, citrusy, tangy taste with a little bit of a sort of nutty, creamy undertone. That's kind of what I'm thinking I might get, at least. Not exactly sure though, frankly put, but I am a little bit more sure than not that I am probably going to get the tiniest bit, if not more than a tiny bit, of chemical, paper, or additive taste in there as well, along with just the normal taste of the cigarettes. I really hope that I don't get any of that, but I would not be surprised if I do. Honestly, I don't really know what to expect taste-wise from this pack right there, from this pack right right here. I'm holding it in my hand right now, aren't I? But that's like my best guess, frankly put. Body-wise, I am expecting a medium-sized body, a body that's bigger than not, nothing super big by any means, not a huge body like you'd get from an unfiltered cigarette. These are a filtered cigarette after all, and I'm expecting just a normal body from a full full-flavored cigarette. I was getting my words a little bit jumbled up there. From a full-flavored cigarette, because these are indeed full-flavored cigarettes, from what I can tell at least, which is really odd because these are called the original silvers, and if you called something the original silver in the United States, it would definitely be an ultralight cigarette, but no. Apparently these are full-flavored cigarettes, so I'm expecting a medium, a decently sized body by all means. I'd have to say airflow wise, I'm expecting a pretty decent airflow kind of thing, not expecting a super constricted or a super wide open airflow by any means, just something that's pretty average, frankly put. I'm thinking draw wise, I'm expecting a medium draw. I am expecting a small line of perforation on the filter, but nothing more than that. And so I am expecting the draw to be a little bit airy, but not anything to any extreme degree by any means. And I'm expecting a medium draw with just a little bit of airiness in there. I'd have to say roughness, smoothness wise, I'm expecting these cigarettes to be right around a 3 to 4, and strength wise, I'm expecting these cigarettes to be right around a 3 out of 4 as well. Pretty average for a full flavored cigarette. Maybe these cigarettes will be lighter, or maybe they'll be stronger though. I'm not exactly sure in all honesty, but those are my expectations for the Lambert & Butler Original Silvers, which are the first ever cigarettes from the UK that I will have ever tried. Without further ado, I do suppose now it is time for me to go ahead and hop into the packaging of this pack right here. After that, I'm going to go ahead and get the cellophane all off. I'm going to go ahead and get the pack of cigarettes all opened up. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know what the cigarettes actually look like, what they feel like, what the quality of them is like. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get one of the Lambert & Butler Original Silver cigarettes all lit up, and I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know how these cigarettes right here actually are. And then after that, I'm going to go and give you guys my final thoughts on this pack of cigarettes, and then after that, I'm going to go ahead and give these cigarettes a rating as well. But first off, as said, we got to go over the packaging, which is plain packaging, frankly put. It's plain packaging. Yeah, it's not even good plain packaging. It's really bad plain packaging with really large graphic warning labels. I mean, like, I will admit I was a little bit lucky with this pack. Liz M, you chose a good pack to send, to be nice enough to give me and everything like that kind of thing, because the graphic warning on the front of this pack is really not all that graphic, frankly put. It's like a brain split in half or something like that kind of thing. But yeah, in the UK, they do use plain packaging, which is not to my personal preference, I will admit. Now, I can't say really anything bad about these cigarettes because they have plain packaging. It's not the cigarettes' fault they have plain packaging or anything like that kind of thing. If I blame the cigarettes, I'd be blaming the victim. But yeah, I don't like the plain packaging. I am not a fan of it, to say the least. It's not ugly per se, but it's definitely not beautiful either, and it definitely does not give us a good idea of how these cigarettes are trying to be marketed or anything like that kind of thing. Like with packaging, I love taking a look at packaging because it gives you a good idea of how the cigarettes are marketed, whether it's trying to be an expensive cigarette or a cheap cigarette, or cheap cigarettes are trying to come off as an expensive cigarette, or whether it's trying to be a mid-range cigarette. With plain packaging, I can't tell any of that, so I really have no idea how Lambert & Butler cigarettes are marketed just based off the packaging these days or anything like that kind of thing, which is a little bit of a shame. But, you know, in the UK, all cigarettes are required to have plain packaging, along with all like rolling tobaccos as well. I'm not sure if pipe tobaccos and cigars are required to have plain packaging, but I figure they might. Wouldn't surprise me one bit, frankly put. But yeah, not a fan of plain packaging, frankly put. I don't believe it actually really does anything that the people who are instituting plain packaging thinks it actually does. It's really just something that takes away from the cigarettes and takes away from the marketing. I mean, like, as long as the cigarettes are still good, that's really all that matters kind of thing, but it is still a disappointment to not see normal packaging. I do like my cigarette packaging. In fact, I'm a cigarette packaging fan, I'd have to say. But, well, with my I dislike plain packaging rant out of the way, let's go ahead and actually start covering the plain packaging now, just quite quickly. I'm not going to go over to any extreme degree. We can see on a black border up here, it just has some white text, and that just says, smoking doubles your risk of stroke. Yeah, I guess it might. That's fine by me. It's worth it to have a cigarette, you know what I'm saying? Wee ball. And then under that, it just says a little bit of a yellow triangle right there with black text on it. It just says, get help to stop smoking at www.nhs.uk/quit. I wonder how many people actually go to that. I'd like to see the website traffic metrics. I bet it's not nearly as many people as the UK government would like. And then under that, there's a little bit more of a black sort of border right there kind of thing. And then under that, we could see there is a rectangle of black. And on the inside of the rectangle black, we get a brain that has been sliced in half. We can see some gloves on either side. And then there's like a metal table right there. And then there's like a brain right here and whatnot. And there's some blood pouring out of the brain and whatnot. Is that a real brain? I do wonder. It could very well be a real brain, but yeah, well, there's a brain on the front for whatever reason. Is that because you might have a stroke and that could affect your brain? Maybe. Or maybe that looks more like if they said blood clot, I'd be like, okay, yeah, blood clot kind of thing. Like, that makes sense. Blood clots can affect your brain. If you get a blood clot in your brain, you're going to be messed up if you don't get that fixed kind of thing. But a stroke? I guess strokes can mess with your brain as well, but I wouldn't think they'd mess with your brain to the point where they need to cut your brain in half, frankly put. That seems like a pretty extreme measure. But moving on from this warning label right here, we can just see under that there is a dark green background covering up the bottom of the cigarette pack, and that dark green is supposed to be the ugliest and most ignorable green known to man. Honestly, I don't really find the green to be really all that ugly. I think it's actually not a bad looking green by any means. I think I have a shirt that's like this very similar color green, and I actually think the green looks really good. I actually really like the green. I like my green shirt quite a bit. It's definitely not an ugly green if you ask me, but it definitely is very easily ignorable by all means, which I think was probably their goal. But they're kind of, well, it's not very ignorable because they have like this up here, and now you're paying attention to a brain, and then so it seems kind of counterintuitive that they have a warning. Like, it's like choose one or the other. Have a warning label or have plain packaging, because this is meant to make people ignore the pack, to even just forget it's there, and then this is making people, it's catching people's attention. So it does seem kind of a counterintuitive to have both plain packaging and a warning, but I mean, like, hey, whatever, that's whatever, you know what I'm saying? But on that green background, it just says Lambert & Butler Original Silver right there, which is, of course, the variety name of this pack of cigarettes. And to the side, we could just see it just says 20 right there. Of course, there are 20 cigarettes inside this pack, but I do believe they feel the need to clarify that there are indeed 20 cigarettes in this pack, as unlike in the United States, where every single pack of cigarettes has to be in a 20 pack, in the UK, I do believe you can get cigarette packs that are larger than 20 packs and maybe some that are smaller than 20 packs as well, more similarly to the rest of Europe and Mexico and some other countries and whatnot. You know, that's pretty much all there is on the front of the packaging. Really not too much going on, frankly put. All this text down here is all just in white, and it's all in a very standardized font, as with every other piece of plain packaging. All the text is in a standardized font, so there's no sort of personalization to the cigarette pack or anything like that, because otherwise that would defeat the point of plain packaging. You know, that's pretty much all there is to this side. Moving on to the other side, we can see the brain images right there. Then under that, it just says smoking doubles your risk of stroke. Once again, right there, you'd think they'd get creative and maybe use a different warning, but hey, I mean, like, hey, whatever. Then under that, we just get the same website right there, just telling you to go there. And then we just get that green background down here. And then right here, there's a little bit of a rectangle with a white background and a black border, and it just says UK duty paid right there. I do believe that UK duty paid is on every single pack of UK cigarettes, just saying that, hey, look, the cigarette manufacturer paid their duty on this pack and everything like that kind of thing. From what I can tell, at least, don't quote me on that, but it does say UK duty paid on the back right there. Moving on to the side of the pack, we can see another warning label right there with the green up here, and this warning label is all it's a white warning label that is a rectangle. It's got a black border going around it and black text on it. Just says tobacco smoke contains over 70 substances known to cause cancer. Nice. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want. Let's go. But to the side of that, we can see there's the barcode right there. And the barcode actually does use the same green as the like background over here and whatnot kind of thing, which is actually a nice bit. I do actually appreciate that. It doesn't use black. It actually does the green, which makes it fit in just a little bit better than that. I don't know if that's regulated. I figure it might be, but either way, that's still something I don't mind seeing. Moving on to the other side, we could see another warning label right there. It just says smoking kills, quit now right there. Well, yeah, that's like the whole point of smoking. You smoke to kill, to get killed, right? I mean, like, that's like the whole point of smoking, right? So, I mean, like, this is more of an advertisement than anything. I really don't get it, frankly put. Moving on, above that, we can see that green background. Now, there's a tax stamp right here. Now, tax stamps, they are in the United States, but tax stamps do not exist in my state. It's one of, like, 2 or 3 states in the United States that does not use tax stamps, which is wild if I do say so myself. I didn't even realize that tax stamps were really a thing that were so common in the United States until I actually started smoking a lot of cigarettes and traveling more and everything like that kind of thing. But the UK does indeed use tax stamps as well, and this is one of the tax stamps that they use. It kind of looks like DNA or something like that kind of thing. Not exactly sure. It got like a sort of like white background, and then there's like gold or green. So it's like gold, like diagonal things, and then there's like, it kind of goes over each other, and it has a very interesting pattern to it kind of thing. And I believe in the pattern it says, oh wait, I couldn't read it earlier. My eyes were not focusing, but my eyes are focusing right now, and it just says smoking kills, smoking kills, smoking kills in the little curvy thing with some text over and over and over again. It just says that over and over and over again. But you know, that's just the tax stamp for this pack of cigarettes right here to ensure that no cigarettes are being smuggled in, although a lot of the market in the UK is smuggled cigarettes. So it makes sense for them to use a tax stamp and whatnot to be able to see which cigarettes are smuggled and not. I guess in my state there's like no smuggled cigarettes because cigarettes are just not that expensive, so why even bother having tax stamps? I think that's been their thinking. But that's pretty much all there is to the side of the packaging. Let's go move on to the top. We can see that green background just says Lambert Butler right there, original silver right there. That's pretty much all there is to the top of the packaging. Moving on to the bottom, just says Lambert Butler original silver once again on that green background, but there is a little bit of a black background to the side with some product code and whatnot on it. We can see it just reads in white KPL1M3FPF ZLVZ 4B027P1 0918, and then under that it just says A+. I don't know what A+ means. I don't know what any of that stuff means, in all honesty, but if you guys know what this stuff means right here, if you guys can date the cigarettes based off of this, let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the packaging. There's no actual design going on. It's just plain packaging. Just wanted to go over the packaging just real quick, just to give you guys a good idea of what packaging from the UK is actually like. It's definitely not nearly as attractive as American packaging, and it's definitely not as attractive as even some packaging with gruesome warning labels on it, just simply because this has plain packaging and the gruesome warning labels, which are kind of contradictory, but hey, it's the UK government's choice. It's the UK government's choice. I don't really get it, but I'm like, hey, whatever. They're legislators. They definitely know what they're doing, right? Just kidding. But yep, that's pretty much all there is to the packaging. Let's go ahead and now get the cellophane all off. And now let's go ahead and take a look at what the quality of the packaging is like. I'm gonna go and throw the cellophane in my backpack. Gotta make sure I'm not littering or anything like that. And now let's just feel what the cigarette pack feels like. And the cigarette pack has definitely a different texture to it than most cigarette packs from the United States, just have a sort of basic printed paperboard texture to them. This pack, on the other hand, it's got a little bit of a sort of matte, almost like really finely cut, like very closely cut, like velvety sort of matte texture to it. Like a sort of, I'm trying to think of the right way to put it, like a very, I don't know, it feels like a just sort of a matte, grippy sort of thing. Like it's meant to be like satisfying to hold, like if you're holding like a, I don't know, the thing that's coming to mind is like a fidget spinner center that's like a matte sort of velvety and it's supposed to feel really nice in hand. That's how this comes across. It's like a matte velvety paperboard texture, which is really odd. And it's that same texture all the way around the pack. Overall, the quality of this pack is, I'd have to say, pretty average. It's maybe slightly above average when compared to some other hard packs of cigarettes, but it's just pretty average as a whole, frankly put. Really nothing too much going on with the quality of this pack. It gets the job done, frankly put. And overall, does this pack look better with the cellophane off? No, not really. No, not really. It really doesn't, frankly put. Most cigarette packs that do not have plain packaging and warnings look better with the cellophane off. This pack looks about the same just because it's plain packaging, frankly put. But you know, that's pretty much all there is to this packaging, and that's pretty much all there was to the quality of packaging, the feel of the packaging as well. Let's go ahead and get this pack of cigarettes all opened up. I gotta be careful though, because I gotta rip this tax stamp as well, so go ahead and just get that opened up just like that. There we go, just ripped very cleanly. I like that, I like that. And we can see all of the manufacturer information on the inside of the cigarette lid, which is something I do appreciate. We can also see there's a little bit of the warning label just cut off inside there as well. But on a green background in white text, it just says Imperial Tobacco, P.O. Box 3349, Bristol BS3 9HQ, consumer.services@uk.imptob.com, and then 800-232-1175. I do suppose they're consumer helpline. Now, I do believe these cigarettes are no longer made in the UK. I believe they're either made in Germany or Poland now, I want to say. I can't remember which one. They're made somewhere else in Europe. They're not made in the UK anymore. So that's just the location for the P.O. Box for Imperial Tobacco in the UK. I don't even believe they left their actual location for their actual headquarters or anything like that kind of thing. Maybe there's a big enough anti-smoking sentiment in the UK where they're afraid to leave their actual headquarters for where they are and everything like that kind of thing, so people can't pop up and protest. Not exactly sure, but yeah, that is the information that's on the inside of the box. Let's go and just cover the rest of the inside of the box, and we can see the cigarette insert right here. Pretty basic, just a basic white insert, no interesting design going on or anything like that. And the foil is just basic foil. This is all controlled by plain packaging, so it's all going to be a little bit more plain and boring than not, frankly put. But you know, the foil, it's just foil. It's just silver foil, frankly put. And foily on one side, papery and foily on the other side. Let's see how easily this rips out. Did not rip out cleanly, but ripped out a little bit more easily than not. Not a very satisfying pullout, if you ask me. Unlike last night when I was in bed with your mom. I do apologize. But let's go ahead and get one of these cigarettes out now. Man, my nose is itchy. Probably because I'm making too many yo mama jokes. But let's go ahead and get one of these cigarettes out now. And let's take a look at what these cigarettes look like, what they feel like, and what the quality of them is like, what the blend of them is like, and what they smell like, and everything like that. First off, I'm going to go and start with smell. And these cigarettes smell pretty good right off the bat. I'd have to say the main smell I'm getting from these cigarettes is, It smells like a certain dish I've had before, like a certain food dish I've had before, but I don't know if it's just the paper. Oh, I know what it is. This like kind of smells like miso soup for some reason. Why does this smell like miso soup? I don't know why. Yeah. What? Why does that smell like miso? That's really weird. That is really weird. It doesn't smell bad, it's like, why does this smell like miso soup? That's really odd. I was not expecting that. Well, I'd have to say to describe the smell as anything other than miso soup, it's sort of mainly a papery, savory, and maybe slightly nutty smell to it. Maybe slightly nutty. So yeah, I'd have to say, as a whole, kind of smells like miso soup for some reason. Has a sort of papery. Or I don't know if it actually smells like miso soup. It's just kind of reminiscent of like walking into an Asian restaurant and getting served miso soup. Like, I don't know if that's actually the smell of miso soup, but it's just kind of reminiscent. It's just reminding me of that. But you know, sort of paper, miso soup, a little bit of nut, savory smell as a whole, like tree nuts as a whole. Smells definitely different than I would think, frankly put. Smells very interesting, but that's what the smell of this cigarette is like. Let's go ahead and now cover how this cigarette actually looks. We can see we get a cork style filter on this cigarette right here. And is that just because I was holding the filter right there, or is it because, oh yeah, my fingerprint is like right there, I think. So that's because like, yeah, it's because I've got oil on my fingers and whatnot right now, or because my fingers are slightly sweaty. It's like 91 degrees out here right now. But so the filter does get a little bit darker, a little bit more shiny when you get to have some oil on your hands and everything like that kind of thing. But we can just see a pretty basic cork style filter. Nothing really too much going on in the filter itself. It's just a basic cork style filter. Now there is one line of perforation right here where my index finger is tapping on this cigarette right now. That's the only line of perforation on this cigarette. The dots are pretty big, but they are spread out a little bit more so than not. But they are a little bit closer than at the same time. It's kind of medium with big dots, like medium perforation with big dots. So I'm kind of expecting this to be a little bit more airy than not. But below the cork style filter and below the perforation, we can just see in a very basic font, it just says Lambert and Butler, just right there. That is controlled by plain packaging once again. So it says it in the most basic font ever, but you know, just says Lambert and Butler right there on the paper itself, all in black. And that's pretty much all that's going on look-wise with this cigarette. Plain packaging cigarette, once again, I hate to say. And taking a look at the blend of the cigarette seems to be very much that of a medium blend. I'm seeing some lighter aspects and some medium aspects, but really no super dark aspects by any means. I'm gonna go ahead and just get another one of these cigarettes out and just take a look at what that's looking like as well. And this one, it's about the same. Also smells about the same as well. It's about the same, I'd have to say. It's a medium to light blend of tobacco as a whole. Definitely not as dark as a typical American blend of tobacco by any means. So, you know, medium to light blend of tobacco, if you ask me at least. And that's pretty much all there is to the cigarette for the look of it, the quality of it. Well, I actually forgot to talk about the quality. The quality of the cigarette, man, that's pretty good. I mean, like, it's not bad quality. It's not falling apart. It's staying together. The tobacco is not all falling out of it or anything like that. So the quality of this is pretty solid if I do say so myself. But yeah, the look, it's plain packaging, frankly put. It's nothing too super special. The smell is very odd. I wonder if it's actually going to taste like that. I don't know. Yeah, it's sort of like paper. Oh, you know what? Kind of a little bit like sawdust as well, low-key. A little bit like that. So it's like, yeah, paper, miso soup, sawdust, and a little bit of like savory tree nuts. I don't know what this cigarette is going to taste like based off that smell. I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue. But I am looking forward to finding out. But you know, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the cigarette itself. So now it's time, or about the look of the cigarette and everything like that. Basically, it's everything. Good work, John. It's pretty much, I've pretty much just said everything I wanted to say about the cigarette prior to smoking it. So now it's time for me to go ahead and smoke this cigarette and actually let you guys know how this cigarette actually is. First off, I'm gonna go and take a little bit of a sip of water and make sure I'm all good to actually smoke a cigarette and whatnot, of course. And now, I'm gonna go and get my lighter out of my pocket. And I do suppose without further ado, it's time for me to go ahead and get a cigarette from the UK, all lit up for the first time. Is this cigarette right here actually gonna be any good? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out, and I'm looking forward to letting you guys know how this cigarette is as well, and just how my first ever experience with a UK cigarette has actually been. I'm looking forward to finding out. I'm a little bit nervous to find out how this cigarette's gonna be. This is my first ever time smoking a cigarette from the UK. But I do suppose there's no time like the present. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this cigarette right here, all it up, and let's go ahead and get to smoking a Lambert & Butler original cigarette for the first time and a UK cigarette for the first time. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying. Right off the bat, there's definitely a little bit of airiness, but it's not quite as airy as I was kind of expecting it to be, and I definitely do think it's going to get less airy as I continue smoking. There's a little bit of roughness in the back of my throat right off the bat. But right now I'm getting a pleasantly, mildly sweet, savory taste. A little bit creamy, a little bit nutty. That's really what I'm getting right now for the taste. Let's go and test the body real quick. The body is medium-sized, definitely a little bit more airy than some other full-flavored cigarettes, but it's a medium-sized body, a good-sized body. You definitely do get a good amount of smoke from this cigarette right here. The airflow, excuse me, is perfectly fine, and I do definitely think that if you wanted to pack these cigarettes, you 100% could. And the draw is very much that of a medium draw. Not too heavy, not too light. Medium draw for sure, with just a little bit of airiness in there. So, you know, very much a medium draw with a little bit of airiness, if I do say so myself. But let's go ahead and figure out what the taste of this cigarette is actually like. It's interesting because the smell I was getting is actually in there with the, like, I'm able to taste a little bit of the taste that I was, or I'm able to taste a little bit of the sort of smell I was getting. Like, it kind of tastes as it smells to a little bit of a degree, not to a full degree, but to a little bit of a degree, which is very interesting. And I am getting a sort of savory, mildly sweet, creamy, sort of nutty taste with an undertone of, like, miso soup and a little bit of paper as well. This is very different from what I'm used to taste-wise. Very different. Like, this cigarette smokes very much like American cigarettes. It's a filtered king-size cigarette. How is it going to smoke differently than most American cigarettes? But it tastes very different. You can definitely tell there's a difference. If this cigarette is anything like other cigarettes on the UK market, you can definitely tell there is a major difference in taste between UK cigarettes and American cigarettes. And that is a well-known thing. American cigarettes are generally referred to as American blend cigarettes, and they do tend to have a little bit of a different taste than many other cigarettes from around the world. But Japan has sort of peanutty, nutty, almost chocolatey tasting cigarettes. And the UK apparently has cigarettes, at least based off this first impression, that kind of taste like a little bit sweet, a little bit creamy, a little bit nutty, with a little bit of miso soup in there as well. Based off this one experience, at least I can say that for sure. That's how UK cigarettes taste. I'm just joking. I'm sure this cigarette is not exactly like every other cigarette on the UK market. It doesn't taste bad though. It tastes pretty good. I'm not really getting much of a, or actually I'm not really getting any of a chemical or additive taste. I am getting a little bit of a paper taste for sure, but it's really nothing too extreme. It's very easily ignorable for sure, and if anything, that paper taste actually combines pretty well with that sort of miso soup taste, so I'm honestly not sure if the miso soup taste is just the paper, or if the paper taste is actually just the miso soup taste. I'm not really sure about that, but very interesting. I'd have to say roughness and smoothness-wise, this cigarette is definitely a 3 out of 4, but it's definitely not a high 3 out of 4. It's definitely a mid 3 out of 4. Very comparable to, like, let's say a Marlboro Red or something like that, roughness and smoothness-wise. And strength-wise, this is very much a 3 out of 4, something very comparable to a Marlboro Red, once again, if you ask me. Although, actually, maybe slightly lighter, just because this is a little bit more airy. But it's still very much a full-flavored cigarette. Very interesting. I'm gonna go and stub this cigarette on the ground now. That cigarette took about 4.5 minutes to smoke. So it doesn't smoke super slowly by any means. That cigarette is all done. The filter starts a little bit into the cork paper right here, and it starts right about at where the top of my finger is, right there. And we can see that the perforation does not really do its job all that well. It does its job a little bit. There's some lighter areas of the filter around the where the perforation is and everything like that kind of thing towards the edges. But excuse me, the perforation does not do its job to any extreme degree, which is actually something I do appreciate because this is meant to be a full-flavored cigarette after all. So while the draw is a little bit airy, especially at first, it does actually get a little bit less airy as you continue smoking, and the perforation really does show that, frankly put. But yeah, as a whole, you know, my first ever UK cigarette, honestly not bad. Definitely different than what I'm used to, and definitely a different taste than what I was expecting as a whole. I was really not expecting that. I read online, somebody commented and they said that Lambert & Butler Original Silvers taste like paper and sawdust. And you know, honestly, I kind of get that. It's not a bad paper and sawdust taste though, frankly put. That sort of miso soup taste, it kind of comes across almost like sawdust, but not really. It's more miso soup than sawdust. But I've never tasted sawdust, but it kind of comes across like the smell of sawdust. But at the same time, miso soup kind of smells a little bit. I'm like, I don't know why miso soup reminds me of the smell of sawdust, frankly put. But it low-key kind of does. And that's not a bad thing. That's not me talking bad about miso soup by any means. But yeah, it's got sort of the taste of that first cigarette, it was sort of a savory, mildly sweet, creamy, slightly nutty, almost like hazelnut taste, with a little bit of, like the aftertaste, I feel like I'm now getting a little bit of coca as well. And then there's that sort of, under all of that, there's that sort of slightly papery miso soup / sawdust taste. I totally get that descriptor. I really do. But that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing in all honesty. I really don't think these cigarettes are all that bad. And honestly, they're really not. Not exactly to my personal preference taste-wise, I will acknowledge. But, you know, not bad smokes. Not bad. Interesting. I think I'm going to need a second one, though. I could definitely go for some more nicotine, and I could definitely just go for a second one just to see if there's anything else about the cigarette that I missed. I've already talked about pretty much everything about this cigarette that I want to talk about, so I think this cigarette, I'm just going to really be focusing on the taste with it, and really just trying to figure out what the taste of the cigarette is really like. But I'm going to go and take a little bit of a sip of water real quick. Get myself a little bit of a palate refresher, and now let's go and get this pack of cigarettes all opened up once again. And let's go ahead and get another one of these cigarettes all out. And let's go ahead and get it all lit up. And also at the same time, grab myself a little bit of a screenshot, I do think. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get my second ever cigarette from the UK all lit up. And let's go and smoke another second cigarette from the UK. Another cigarette from the UK, this time for the second time, not the first time. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get this cigarette all lit up. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying. Well, hopefully that will work as a screenshot. We will find out. So the taste, there's definitely more to the taste now that I'm revisiting it. There's definitely more to the taste than what I described. The taste that I described previously is still very much the overall taste, but there's definitely more to it than just that, especially when you're retrohaling. I'm gonna go ahead and do a hit now where I smoke this cigarette like a cigar, where I don't inhale at all. Try to get some taste like that. Okay. So I'd have to say the taste of this cigarette. I'm definitely noticing more intricacies now that I've got another cigarette going, which is really nice. Okay, interesting. So this cigarette is definitely coming across a little bit different than the first cigarette. And I think it's just because I've already had one of those, so I kind of already know what the taste is like, so I'm just now able to notice deeper intricacies and whatnot. But I'd have to say, the taste very much is that of a whole, of a mildly sweet, mildly sour tobacco taste, with the sweetness being that of a So I'd have to say, yeah, so this is very much a mildly sweet and sour cigarette, with the sourness really being in the back of your throat and the sweetness really being on your tongue. It's not a sweet and sour cigarette all on your tongue. It's just a little bit sour in the back of your throat, just due to the roughness and due to, I think, a little bit of the paper taste as well. But the main taste you really get on your tongue is very much that of a mildly sweet and savory, creamy, nutty taste that comes across almost like a hazelnut butter taste with a little bit of molasses in there as well. And is there any like cocoa or chocolate, like I was kind of thinking there was? I think I might have gotten that and the molasses taste mixed up. And as you continue smoking, the taste definitely gets richer. You can definitely tell the tar is building up and whatnot, but it's not becoming overwhelming. Interesting, interesting. Interesting taste. Definitely different than what I'm used to, for sure. But I have had some cigarettes in the United States that do taste somewhat like this. Like State Express 555 Golds. It's probably the most similar to this that I've had in the United States. Along with that, to an extent, the Benson & Hedges. Which makes sense because Benson & Hedges is a UK brand, and they do keep the same sort of somewhat formula going, although they definitely don't taste exactly the same as Benson & Hedges outside the United States, because different manufacturer. I do want to say there is a little bit of a chocolate taste in there as well. I do want to say there is. And then I think that sort of miso soup taste that I was kind of describing with the first cigarette, it's very much an undertone, still a little bit in there, but it's very much, I think it's the paper taste. Or if it's not the paper taste, it combines really well with the paper taste. Okay. Is that sawdust? That sawdust has really gone away. Now that I'm really paying attention to the taste, I'm not really getting much of that taste, but it's still kind of like sawdust miso soup. Interesting. Okay, I think I have a good idea of how this cigarette tastes. I'm going to go ahead and finish off this cigarette. I'm going to go and let you guys know, once and for all, how a Lambert Butler original cigarette from the UK actually tastes. That was pretty much all I had to the cigarette. I'm going to go ahead and stub that out on the ground. Make sure it's all out. Go ahead and just get the rest of the tobacco out of the filter real quick, and I'm going to go ahead and shove that in this side of my backpack. Can't be littering or nothing like that, of course. And now, I'm gonna go and let you guys know how the cigarettes actually taste once and for all. So how do the Lambert & Butler original cigarettes actually taste once and for all, to me at least? Well, I think they have a really nice taste to them. I actually really like the taste. It's very different than what I'm used to. Might not be different when compared to other cigarettes on the UK market for sure, but I actually really like the taste. And the taste is very much that of a mildly sweet, creamy, hazelnut butter, molasses taste with an undertone of like creamy chocolate. And then under that, there's a little bit of sourness as well that comes across in the roughness in the back of your throat very well. And that has sort of a miso soup slash sawdust paper taste to it. But it's not bad. Normally, I don't like paper taste from cigarettes, especially when the paper taste is really right on your tongue. But actually, if that is the paper taste that I'm kind of thinking it is, it actually tastes pretty good. It's actually not bad. I've only had a couple cigarettes in the past where I actually think the paper taste actually brought more to the table than not, and this is one of those cigarettes. So you know, the taste as a whole is that of a mildly sweet, creamy, hazelnut butter, molasses, creamy chocolate taste with an undertone of a little bit of a sour roughness in the back of your throat that has a little bit of a miso soup, sawdust, paper taste to it. And I really do mean all of that in the best way possible. You know, not a bad cigarette. Not a bad cigarette at all. As I continue smoking my way through the pack, I am a little bit afraid that I might not get that same taste from each and every single cigarette, and I'm a little bit afraid that I might not enjoy each and every single cigarette as much as I enjoyed these two. But I can definitely say, at least just with the first two smokes from this pack, with my first two smokes ever from a UK pack of cigarettes, I can say for sure that I enjoy these cigarettes more so than not, and I can say for sure that more than likely I'm going to enjoy a lot of other UK cigarettes more so than not as well. You know, not bad smokes. Not bad smokes, frankly put. Not the best cigarettes I've ever had, 100% not, but not bad smokes one bit. If every single cigarette in the UK tastes somewhat like this one, but a little bit different, you know, I wouldn't complain. I would not complain, frankly put. And honestly, I really like these cigarettes. At least with the first two smokes, I really like these cigarettes. And I really like the taste. I really like just how they smoke. They might have a bit too much perforation, a little bit too much of an airiness for me, personally speaking, but you know, they're not bad cigarettes. These are not bad cigarettes at all. And honestly, I really like them. The biggest thing I don't like about these cigarettes is the packaging. But there's nothing the cigarettes can do about that. That's UK regulatory measures, not a fault of the cigarettes on their own. As a whole, what is the rating I am thinking for the Lambert & Butler Original Silver cigarettes? I'm thinking these cigarettes deserve a solid 3 out of 4, and a mid 3 out of 4 at that. Definitely not a 4 out of 4 by any means, but these are definitely a 3 out of 4 if you ask me. And for context, my rating scale goes from a 1 to 4, with a 1 being cigarettes that I consider are horrible and nobody should ever buy, and I absolutely hate them. A 2 being like, you know, it's not to my personal preference, but maybe some people would like them. A 3 out of 4 is like, you know, this is pretty good. I'd buy a pack with my own money, but it's not like the best thing ever. And a 4 out of 4 is like, oh my god, this is amazing, this is the best thing ever. These are very much a 3 out of 4. I'd buy a pack of these with my own money for sure, and I definitely am not going to mind smoking the rest of this pack in the future. And I definitely wouldn't mind smoking another pack again, let me just put it that way. As a whole, not bad smokes, if I do say so myself. These are pretty solid. And, yeah. I've heard, surprisingly, a lot of bad things about cigarettes from the UK. But, you know, these weren't as bad as I was kind of afraid they might be. I've heard so many bad things about cigarettes from the UK, that they taste like chemicals, that they taste like paper, that they taste like additives and everything like that kind of thing. But, you know, these were okay. These were okay. They weren't bad by any means. They were solid smokes. Not the best thing ever, but solid smokes. Yeah, not too bad. As a whole, 3 out of 4 for the Lambert & Butler Original Silver cigarettes. Pretty good experience with these cigarettes, if I do say so myself. And as a whole, pretty good experience with my first ever UK cigarette as well. Pretty good experience as a whole, and definitely a much more enjoyable experience than not. let me know in the comments down below if what I described in today's video and if what I mentioned is accurate to your personal experience, if you guys have tried UK cigarettes in the past, or if you guys are from the UK and smoke cigarettes from the UK. Let me know if what I described is an accurate taste of these cigarettes right here, and just let me know if kind of what I'm thinking is more accurate or not, or let me know in the comments down below if I'm completely wrong. Let me know. Let me know. As a whole, though, I can say for sure I've had a much better experience than not with my first ever UK cigarette that I smoked in today's video, and I've had a much better experience with these cigarettes in specific right here in general as well. As a whole, I've had a lot of fun making today's video. It's been really cool to try a cigarette from the UK for the first time and to find out what the differences are between American cigarettes and UK cigarettes and just other cigarettes from around the world. I'd have to say there's definitely a distinct difference between the taste of UK cigarettes and American cigarettes based off of this one experience, at least. I'm sure maybe Marlboro Reds might taste a little bit more similar to Marlboro Reds in the United States than not. But of course, they're still gonna have a little bit of a UK sort of blend in them, just a little bit, just to make them more towards people's palates, the market's palate in the UK. But yeah, you know, not bad. Definitely different than American cigarettes. And when compared to other countries I've tried cigarettes from, I'd have to say these are most similar to an extent, Japan, although definitely not as high quality, and Mexico as well. Definitely more similar to Japan and Mexico than not, taste-wise. And the thing that really reminds me of Mexico is really the molasses taste. A lot of cigarettes from Mexico have a very molasses taste to them. And a lot of cigarettes in Japan have a sort of nutty, creamy taste to them. And with those both combined, this is very reminiscent to me, at least, of a slightly lower quality Japanese cigarette with a Mexican tinge on it, frankly put. Very interesting smokes. Definitely has been a very interesting experience today, and a much more enjoyable one than not. Let me know in the comments down below, as said, what your guys' thoughts on UK cigarettes are, if you guys have tried them in the past. And let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about these specific cigarettes, if you guys have tried them in the past as well. I think that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much once again to Liz M for having been kind enough to contribute this pack of cigarettes to the channel for me to make a full review on and everything like that. I really do appreciate it. Certainly hope you guys have enjoyed watching today's video. If you guys haven't already liked and subscribed, I highly recommend doing just that. Also, make sure to check out my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. Box, and my second channel, all in the description down below. To the next one, y'all, stay safe and peace, and have a great one. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying?